Chapter 3. Your fears were unfounded, entirely ungrounded. Triss grimaced, resting her elbows on the table. The time when wizards used to hunt sources and magically gifted children, tearing them from their parents or guardians by force or deceit, is long gone. Did you really think I might want to take Ciri away from you? Lambert snorted and turned his face away. Eskel and Vesemir looked at Geralt, and Geralt said nothing. He continued to gaze off to the side, playing incessantly with his silver witcher medallion, depicting the head of a snarling wolf. Triss knew the medallion reacted to magic. On such a night as Mid-Indierne, when the air itself was vibrating with magic, the witcher's medallions must be practically humming. It must be both irritating and bothersome. "No, child," Vesemir finally said. "We know you would not do such a thing, but we also know that you do, ultimately, have to tell the chapter about her. We've known for a long time that every wizard, male or female, is burdened with this duty. You don't take talented children from their parents and guardians anymore. You observe such children so that later, at the right moment, you can fascinate them in magic, influence them." "Have no fear," she interrupted coldly. "I will not tell anyone about Ciri, not even the chapter. Why are you looking at me like that?" "We're amazed by the ease with which you pledged to keep this secret," said Eskel calmly. "Forgive me, Triss. I do not mean to offend you, but what has happened to your legendary loyalty to the Council and Chapter?" "A lot has happened. The war changed many things, and the battle for Sodden Hill changed even more. I won't bore you with the politics, especially as certain issues and affairs are bound by secrets I am not allowed to divulge. But as for loyalty, I am loyal, and believe me, in this matter, I can be loyal to both you and to the chapter." "Such double loyalty." Geralt looked her in the eyes for the first time that evening. "It's devilishly difficult to manage. Rarely does it succeed, Triss." The enchantress turned her gaze on Ciri. The girl was sitting on a bearskin with Cohen, tucked away in the far corner of the hall, and both were busy playing a hand-slapping game. The game was growing monotonous, as both were incredibly quick. Neither could manage to slap the other's hand in any way. This, however, clearly neither mattered to them nor spoiled their game. "Geralt," she said, "when you found Ciri on the Yaruga, you took her with you. You brought her to Kaer Morhen, hid her from the world, and do not let even those closest to the child know she is alive. You did this because something, about which I know nothing, convinced you that destiny exists, holds sway over us, and guides us in everything we do. I think the same, and have always done so. If destiny wants Ciri to become a magician, she will become one. Neither the chapter nor the council have to know about her. They don't have to observe or encourage her. So, in keeping your secret, I won't betray the chapter in any way. But, as you know, there is something of a hitch here."
"Were it only one," sighed Vesemir. "Go on, child."
"The girl has magical abilities, and that can't be neglected. It's too dangerous."
"In what way?"
"Uncontrolled powers are an ominous thing, for both the source and those in their vicinity. The source can threaten those around them in many ways, but they threaten themselves in only one: mental illness, usually catatonia."
"Devil take it," said Lambert after a long silence. "I am listening to you, half convinced that someone here has already lost their marbles and will any moment now present a threat to the rest of us. Destiny, sources, spells, hocus pocus. Aren't you exaggerating, Merigold? Is this the first child to be brought to the keep? Geralt didn't find destiny, he found another homeless orphaned child. We'll teach the girl the sword and let her out into the world like the others. True, I admit we've never trained a girl in Kaer Morhen before. We've had some problems with Ciri, made mistakes, and it's a good thing you pointed them out to us. But don't let us exaggerate. She's not so remarkable as to make us fall on our knees and raise our eyes to the heavens. Is there a lack of female warriors roaming the world? I assure you, Merigold, Ciri will leave here skillful and healthy, strong and able to face life. And, I warrant, without catatonia or any other epilepsy, unless you delude her into believing she has some such disease." "Vesemir." Triss turned in her chair.
Tell him to keep quiet. He's getting in the way. You think you know it all, said Lambert calmly. But you don't. Not yet. Look. He stretched his hand towards the hearth, arranging his fingers together in a strange way. The chimney roared and howled. The flames burst out violently. The glowing embers grew brighter and rained sparks. Geralt, Vesemir, and Eskil glanced at Ciri anxiously, but the girl paid no attention to the spectacular fireworks. Triss folded her arms and looked at Lambert defiantly. The sign of Ard, she stated calmly. Did you think to impress me? With the use of the same sign, strengthened through concentration, willpower, and a spell, I can blow the logs from the chimney in a moment and blast them so high you will think they are stars. You can, he agreed. But Ciri can't. She can't form the sign of Ard, or any other sign. She has tried hundreds of times to no effect. And you know our signs require minimal power. Ciri does not even have that. She is an absolutely normal child. She has not the least magical power. She has, in fact, a comprehensive lack of ability. And here you are telling us she's a source, trying to threaten us. A source, she explained coldly, has no control over their skills, no command over them. They are a medium, something like a transmitter. Unknowingly, they get in touch with energy. Unknowingly, they convert it. And when they try to control it, when they strain, trying to form the signs, perhaps, nothing comes of it. And nothing will come of it. Not just after hundreds of attempts, but after thousands. It is one characteristic of a source. Then, one day, a moment comes when the source does not exert itself, does not strain, is daydreaming or thinking about cabbage and sausages, playing dice, enjoying themselves in bed with a partner, picking their nose. And suddenly, something happens. A house might go up in flames, or sometimes half a town goes up. You're exaggerating, Merigold. Lambert. Geralt released his medallion and rested his hands on the table. First, stop calling Triss Merigold. She has asked you a number of times not to. Second, Triss is not exaggerating. I saw Ciri's mother, Princess Pavetta, in action with my own eyes. I tell you, it was really something. I don't know if she was a source or not, but no one suspected she had any power at all, until, save by a hair's breadth, she almost reduced the royal castle of Sintra to ashes. We should assume, therefore, said Eskil, lighting the candles in yet another candlestick, that Ciri could indeed be genetically burdened. Not only could, said Vesemir, she is so burdened. On the one hand, Lambert is right. Ciri is not capable of forming signs. On the other, we have all seen. He fell silent and looked at Ciri, who, with a joyful squeal, acknowledged that she had the upper hand in the game. Triss spied a small smile on Cohen's face, and was sure he had allowed her to win. Precisely, she sneered. You have all seen. What have you seen? Under what circumstances did you see it? Don't you think, boys, that the time has come for more truthful confessions? Hell, I repeat, I will keep your secret. You have my word. Lambert glanced at Geralt. Geralt nodded in assent. The younger Witcher stood and took a large rectangular crystal carafe and a smaller phial from a high shelf. He poured the contents of the phial into the carafe, shook it several times, and poured the transparent liquid into the chalices on the table. Have a drink with us, Triss. Is the truth so terrible, she mocked, that we can't talk about it soberly? Do I have to get drunk in order to hear it? Don't be such a know-all. Take a sip. You'll find it easier to understand. What is it? White seagull. What? A mild remedy, Eskil smiled, for pleasant dreams. Damn it! A witcher hallucinogenic? That's why your eyes shine like that in the evenings. White seagull is very gentle. It's black seagull that is hallucinogenic. If there's magic in this liquid, I'm not allowed to take it. Exclusively natural ingredients, Geralt reassured her, but he looked, she noticed, disconcerted. He was clearly afraid she would question them about the elixir's ingredients, and diluted with a great deal of water. We would not offer you anything that could harm you. The sparkling liquid, with its strange taste, struck her throat with its chill, and then dispersed warmth throughout her body. The magician ran her tongue over her gums and palate. She was unable to recognize any of the ingredients. You gave Ciri some of this seagull to drink, she surmised. And then? It was an accident, Geralt interrupted quickly. That first evening, just after we arrived, she was thirsty, and the seagull stood on the table. Before we had time to react, she had drunk it all in one go, and fallen into a trance. We had such a fright, Vesemir admitted and sighed. Oh, that we did, child. More than we could take. She started speaking with another voice, the magician stated calmly, looking at the witcher's eyes gleaming in the candlelight. She started talking about events and matters of which she could have no knowledge. She started to prophesy. Right? What did she say? Rubbish, said Lambert dryly. Senseless drivel. Then I have no doubt, she looked straight at him, that you understood each other perfectly well. Drivel is your speciality, and I am further convinced of it every time you open your mouth. Do me a great favour, and don't open it for a while, all right? This once, said Eskel gravely, rubbing the scar across his cheek. Lambert is right, Triss. After drinking seagull, ciri really was incomprehensible. That first time it was gibberish. Only after... He broke off. Triss shook her head. It was only the second time that she started talking sense, she guessed. So there was a second time too. Also after she drank a drug because of your carelessness. Triss! Geralt raised his head. This is not the time for your childish spitefulness. It doesn't amuse us. It worries and upsets us. Yes, there was a second time too, and a third. Ciri fell, quite by accident, during an exercise. She lost consciousness. When she regained it, she had fallen into another trance. And once again she spoke nonsense. Again, it was not her voice. And again, it was incomprehensible. But I have heard similar voices before, heard a similar way of speaking. It's how those poor, sick, demented women known as oracles speak. You see what I'm thinking? Clearly. That was the second time. Get to the third. Geralt wiped his brow, suddenly beaded with sweat, on his forearm. Ciri often wakes up at night, he continued, shouting. She has been through a lot. She doesn't want to talk about it, but it is clear that she saw things no child should see in Sintra and Angren. I even fear that someone harmed her. It comes back to her in dreams. Usually she is easy to reassure and she falls asleep without any problem. But once, after waking, she was in a trance again. She again spoke with someone else's unpleasant, menacing voice. She spoke clearly and made sense. She prophesied, foresaw the future. And what she foretold. What? What, Geralt? Death, Vesemir said gently. Death, child. Triss glanced at Ciri, who was shrilly accusing Cohen of cheating. Cohen put his arms around her and burst out laughing. The magician suddenly realized that she had never, up until now, heard any of the witches laugh. For whom? She asked briefly, still gazing at Cohen. Him, said Vesemir. And me, Geralt added, and smiled. When she woke up? She remembered nothing, and we didn't ask her any questions. Quite so. As to the prophecy, was it specific? Detailed? No. Geralt looked her straight in the eyes. Confused. Don't ask about it, Triss. We're not worried by the contents of Ciri's prophecies and ravings, but about what happens to her. We're not afraid for ourselves, but careful, warned Vesemir. Don't talk about it in front of her. Cohen approached the table, carrying the girl piggyback. Wish everybody good night, Ciri, he said. Say good night to those night owls. We're going to sleep. It's nearly midnight. In a minute it'll be the end of Midinvierne. As of tomorrow, every day brings spring closer. I'm thirsty. Ciri slipped off his back and reached for Eskel's chalice. Eskel deftly moved the vessel beyond her reach and grabbed a jug of water. Triss stood quickly. Here you are. She gave her half-full chalice to the girl while meaningfully squeezing Geralt's arm and looking Vesemir in the eye. Drink. Triss, whispered Eskel, watching Ciri drink greedily. What are you doing? It's not a word, please." They did not have to wait long for it to take effect. Ciri suddenly grew rigid, cried out, and smiled a broad, happy smile. She squeezed her eyelids shut and stretched out her arms. She laughed, spun a pirouette, and danced on tiptoes. Lambert moved the stool away in a flash, leaving Cohen standing between the dancing girl and the hearth. Triss jumped up and tore an amulet from her pouch, a sapphire set in silver on a thin chain. She squeezed it tightly in her hand.
"Child," groaned Vesemir, "what are you doing?"
"I know what I'm doing," she said sharply. "Ciri has fallen into a trance, and I am going to contact her psychically. I am going to enter her. I told you, she is something like a magical transmitter. I've got to know what she is transmitting, how, and from where she is drawing the aura, how she is transforming it. It's mid-Indian, a favourable night for such an undertaking."
"I don't like it." Geralt frowned. "I don't like it at all."
"Should either of us suffer an epileptic fit," the magician said, ignoring his words, "you know what to do. A stick between our teeth, hold us down, wait for it to pass. Chin up, boys. I've done this before." Ciri ceased dancing, sank to her knees, extended her arms, and rested her head on her lap. Triss pressed the now warm amulet to her temple and murmured the formula of a spell. She closed her eyes, concentrated her willpower, and gave out a burst of magic. The sea roared. Waves thundered against the rocky shore and exploded in high geysers amidst the boulders. She flapped her wings, chasing the salty wind. Indescribably happy, she dived, caught up with a flock of her companions, brushed the crests of the waves with her claws, soared into the sky again, shedding water droplets, and glided, tossed by the gale, whistling through her pin feathers. "Force of suggestion," she thought soberly. "It is only force of suggestion. Seagull." "Triss! Triss! Ciri? Where are you? Triss!" The cry of the seagulls ceased. The magician still felt the wet splash of the breakers, but the sea was no longer below her. Or it was, but it was a sea of grass, an endless plateau stretching as far as the horizon. Triss, with horror, realized she was looking at the view from the top of Sodden Hill. But it was not the hill. It could not be the hill. The sky suddenly grew dark. Shadows swirled around her. She saw a long column of indistinct figures slowly climbing down the mountainside. She heard murmurs superimposed over each other, mingling into an uncanny, incomprehensible chorus. Ciri was standing nearby with her back turned to her. The wind was blowing her ashen hair about. The indistinct, hazy figures continued past in a long, unending column. Passing her, they turned their heads. Triss suppressed a cry, watching the listless, peaceful faces and their dead, unseeing eyes. She did not know all of the faces, did not recognize them, but some of them she did know. Coral, Vaniel, Yoel, pox-marked Axel. "Why have you brought me here?" she whispered. "Why?" Ciri turned. She raised her arm, and the magician saw a trickle of blood run down her lifeline, across her palm and onto her wrist. "It is the rose," the girl said calmly. "The rose of Chivay. I pricked myself. It is nothing. It is only blood. The blood of elves." The sky grew even darker, then a moment later flared with the sharp, blinding glare of lightning. Everything froze in the silence and stillness. Triss took a step, wanting to make sure she could. She stopped next to Ciri, and saw that both of them stood on the edge of a bottomless chasm, where reddish smoke, glowing as though it was lit from behind, was swirling. The flash of another soundless bolt of lightning suddenly revealed a long marble staircase leading into the depths of the abyss. "It has to be this way," Ciri said in a shaky voice. "There is no other. Only this. Down the stairs. It has to be this way, because the Riad again." "Speak," whispered the magician. "Speak, child." "The child of elder blood. Yennefer. Luned ep hen icher. Deathwen. The white flame. No, no, no." Ciri, the Black Knight, with feathers in his helmet. What did he do to me? What happened? I was frightened. I'm still frightened. It's not ended. It will never end. The lion cub must die. Reasons of state. No. No. Ciri. No! The girl turned rigid and squeezed her eyelids shut. No, no, I don't want to. Don't touch me. Ciri's face suddenly changed, hardened. Her voice became metallic, cold and hostile, resounding with threatening, cruel mockery. You have come all this way with her, Trissmerigold? All the way here? You have come too far, 14th one. I warned you. Who are you? Triss shuddered, but she kept her voice under control. You will know when the time comes. I will know now. The magician raised her arms, extended them abruptly, putting all her strength into a spell of identification. The magic curtain burst, but behind it was a second, a third, a fourth. Triss sank to her knees with a groan. But reality continued to burst. More doors opened, a long, endless row leading to nowhere, to emptiness. You are wrong, 14th one, the metallic, inhuman voice sneered. You've mistaken the stars reflected on the surface of the lake at night for the heavens. Do not touch that child. She is not a child. Ciri's lips moved, but Triss saw that the girl's eyes were dead, glazed and vacant. She is not a child, the voice repeated. She is the flame, the white flame which will set light to the world. She is the elder blood, Yennefer, the blood of elves, the seed which will not sprout but burst into flame. The blood which will be defiled when Teth arrives, the time of end. Are you foretelling death? Shouted Triss. Is that all you can do? Foretell death? For everyone? Them? Her? Me? You are already dead, 14th one. Everything in you has already died. By the power of the spheres, moaned the magician, activating what little remained of her strength and drawing her hand through the air. I throw a spell on you by water, fire, earth, and air. I conjure you in thought, in dream and in death, by all that was, by what is, and by what will be. I cast my spell on you. Who are you? Speak. Ciri turned her head away. The vision of the staircase leading down into the depths of the abyss disappeared, dissolved, and in its place appeared a grey leaden sea, foaming, crests of waves breaking, and the seagull's cries burst through the silence once more. Fly, said the voice through the girl's lips. It is time. Go back to where you came from, 14th of the hill. Fly on the wings of a gull and listen to the cry of other seagulls. Listen carefully. I conjure you. You cannot. Fly, seagull. And suddenly the wet, salty air was there again, roaring with the gale, and there was the flight, a flight with no beginning and no end. Seagulls cried wildly, cried and commanded. Triss? Ciri? Forget about him. Don't torture him. Forget. Forget, Triss. Forget. Triss. 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 Triss? She opened her eyes, tossed her head on the pillow, and moved her numb hands. Geralt? I'm here. How are you feeling? She cast her eyes around. She was in her chamber, lying on the bed, on the best bed in the whole of Kaer Morhen. What is happening to Ciri? She's asleep. How long? Too long, he interrupted. He covered her with a duvet and put his arms around her. As he leaned over, the wolf's head medallion swayed just above her face. "What you did was not the best of ideas, Triss." "Everything is all right." She trembled in his embrace. "That's not true," she thought. "Nothing's all right." She turned her face so that the medallion didn't touch her. There were many theories about the properties of witcher amulets, and none advised magicians to touch them during the equinox. Did we say anything during the trance?" Nothing. You were unconscious throughout. Ciri, just before she woke up, said, "Va esse dereath ip igian." She knows the elder speech. Not enough to say a whole sentence. A sentence which means something is ending. The magician wiped her face with her hand. "Geralt, this is a serious matter. The girl is an exceptionally powerful medium. I don't know what or who she is contacting, but I think there are no limits to her connection. Something wants to take possession of her, something which is too powerful for me. I am afraid for her. Another trance could end in mental illness. I have no control over it, don't know how to, can't. If it proved necessary, I would not be able to block or suppress her powers. I would even not be capable, if there were no other option, of permanently extinguishing them. You have to get help from another magician, a more gifted one, more experienced. You know who I'm talking about." "I do." He turned his head away, clenched his lips. "Don't resist. Don't defend yourself. I can guess why you turned to me rather than her. Overcome your pride, crush your rancour and obstinacy. There is no point to it. You'll torture yourself to death. And you are risking Ciri's health and life in the process. Another trance is liable to be more dangerous to her than the trial of grasses. Ask Yennefer for help, Geralt." "And you, Triss?" "What about me?" She swallowed with difficulty. "I'm not important. I let you down. I let you down in everything. I was your mistake, nothing more." "Mistakes," he said with effort, "are also important to me. I don't cross them out of my life or memory, and I never blame others for them. You are important to me, Triss, and always will be. You never let me down, never. Believe me." She remained silent a long while. "I will stay until spring," she said finally, struggling against her shaking voice. "I will stay with Ciri. I will watch over her, day and night. I will be with her day and night. And when spring is here, we will take her to Melitele's temple in Elender. The thing that wants to possess her might not be able to reach her in the temple. And then you will ask Yennefer for help." "All right, Triss. Thank you." "Geralt?" "Yes?" "Ciri said something else, didn't she? Something only you heard. Tell me what it was." "No," he protested, and his voice quivered. "No, Triss." "Please." "She wasn't speaking to me." "I know. She was speaking to me. Tell me, please." "After coming to, when I picked her up, she whispered, 'Forget about him. Don't torture him.'" "I won't," she said quietly. "But I can't forget. Forgive me." "I am the one who ought to be asking for forgiveness, and not only asking you." "You love her that much?" she stated, not asking. "That much," he admitted in a whisper, after a long moment of silence. "Geralt?" "Yes, Triss?" "Stay with me tonight." "Triss, Only stay."
all right."